What's going on, Fantasy Alarm Nation? Happy Friday. It is Ryan Hallam with you for another edition of Fantasy Alarm TV. Normally on Fridays, we do the table at discussion. There's 5 of us, and we have a good old time. But you know what? It's that screw bender. Forget Piacenti. We don't need Dan Mellon and his weird food stuff. Just going to talk some sports. And what better guy for me to do it with than Fantasy Alarm's own Adam Ronis. Adam, we're almost to the weekend, man. We're a week away from opening day. You got to be pretty excited.
Yeah, I am. I mean, obviously there was a little trepidation for a little bit, but everything seems to be fine. I mean, even yesterday, they weren't sure if the Nationals were going to be able to play at home on Thursday. Apparently everything is good now, and they will open up against the Yankees on Thursday. And then after that, we get the Dodgers-Giants. So, yeah, I can't wait to watch baseball. It is going to be a hectic fantasy baseball season, though. I mean, we're already seeing it. I mean, every day the news is changing. I mean, just before we came on here, we found out Freddie Freeman is good to go. So he'll have a couple days here and a couple exhibition games over the weekend. I saw a reporter said he needs about 30, 35 at-bats to get going, and he does expect him to be in the starting lineup on Friday when the Braves take on the Mets. So that's big news because I have seen Freeman fall down the draft board, sometimes going to the third round of these high-stakes leagues of 15-team leagues. And someone tweeted me and said, well, that sucks to hear. Now, I passed over him last night for Pete Alonso. And, you know, I can't really blame anyone because with a short season, we need as many at-bats and innings as possible. And what we knew yesterday with Freeman, we weren't sure. I'm sure now people this weekend will probably Freeman goes in the second round, I'd say. I mean, he was kind of a early second round pick. There still might be some people who go, well, I'm a little concerned. Maybe it takes him a week to get going. But Freeman, to me, is one of the best hitters in baseball. And even though I'm a Mets fan and I despise the Braves, Freeman's like one of the fun players to watch, just not when he's facing my pitching staff.
Yeah, he's certainly blossomed into his own. But I think the bigger news, I know you have a big softball outing this weekend. Are you the 101 of fantasy softball? How are you doing so far in your season?
Nah, I'm not the 101, man. I'm a solid player, but, you know, I'm not a power hitter. It's funny because I was having a conversation when I was going out to the field with the right fielder. I play right center. And I was like, man, I hate when I hit the ball in the air because I'm not a power hitter because, like, the first at-bat, I flew out to center. So if I hit it in the air, I'm not a big guy. I'm not a power hitter. You got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I'm a line drive, ground ball hitter. If I hit it on the ground, I still can run, still got pretty good speed, so there's a chance I beat it out with any hesitation or a bobble. So after that, started hitting line drives and the grounders, and then, of course, later in the game, I actually hit one over the left center fielder's head for a triple. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be the 101. Just a solid hitter, a really good defender. But I'm happy to be out there, man. Missed it so much. You know, I didn't play for 11 months. And now we're going to I think we only have 5 weeks left and then the playoffs. So it's a condensed season, but it's better than nothing. I know some people out in California, they can't even play. So thankful that I'm able to play and hopefully everyone stays healthy, just like in real sports. We just hope this all pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the news, it's not even like a little bit every day. It's a lot. And it's big players, it's small players, it's COVID, it's regular injuries. There's just so much to try to keep up on each and every day. So it's going to lead me to my first question for you is, what do you do with only 60 games in really 2 months? Say one of your players comes down with COVID, some guys, it seems like they're okay. Salvador Perez came back. He looks like he's fine. Scott Kingery, he was a month or so. Freddie Freeman has been out for quite a while. So with this such uncertainty, not only of the season, but with the players and how they might react to this, what is your strategy going into the season if a player comes down with COVID or, a guy coming back from it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take too many chances. I usually, over the 6-month season, I'll take chances. I'm not afraid because I know the long game that I'm going to be able to get by with injuries. Like, even Tout Wars, I drafted, this was, March 5th. I mean, we knew at that point, we thought the season was a go. We didn't have any concerns. And I took Mike Clevenger at 32. And people probably looked at me like, what are you doing? But I knew we had unlimited IL spots. And I figured he'd be out at most a month and maybe 2-3 weeks. So I'd take chances. Same thing in the labor draft we did in the reserve round. I took Alex Verdugo, Cole Hamels, and Nick Senzel, and they were all hurt at the time. I was like, I don't care. We got unlimited IL spots. I'll stash them. I'll figure it out. I'm not going to do that this time. I think you really need to be more conservative here. I know a lot of times people say go for the home run, go for upside. I don't think you can do it here. You can't take a lot of chances. It comes down to each individual. Some of those guys I already drafted, and we're not redrafting. Kingery's definitely someone that I have in a couple leagues. Freddie Freeman, though, with this news now, like I have one auction left on Tuesday, so I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic. I'm still not going to go crazy and spend a ton on him because we don't know what the residual effects are from him. He said he had really bad symptoms. Like his wife had said, I think on Instagram, he never gets sick. He's not gone out. He hasn't gone to the grocery store, and it hit him hard. But as of now, he is fine. So I'd keep him probably I've left him at second among first basemen. That's the thing. The rankings on Fantasy Alarm, I mean, I'm like every day, throughout the day, I'm making changes, man. It's insane. You really have to stay up to date. Like if you have a draft tomorrow, like don't wake up and, I'm good. No, you got to make sure you have the news on your phone, even during the draft. I know it can be complicated, but you really have to stay up to date because we're finding out new things every single day. So, yeah, it does come down to the individual player. I'm not going to take too many risks. Maybe one, but there have been a lot of guys where I'm just like, it's risky at this point. And then, like you said, you have guys who are hurt, like a Jacob deGrom. Like I read that he went 14th last night overall, one in the NFBC league. So it sounds like he's okay. He's going to throw a simulated game on Sunday, 60 pitches instead of facing the Yankees. I guess they're hoping he'll be ready opening day. I guess if he gets through that 60-pitch simulated game, maybe he goes and starts and throws 70, 80 pitches, possibly. But I'm not going to move him down too much. And hopefully he's okay because I spent $40 on him in our labor draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a decent chance he's babied a little bit his first go around, but I think if he comes out of this, like you said, I think he'll be good to go from there. 14 is a bargain compared to where he was going back in February and early March. So whoever did that got a pretty good bargain there. To me, I think if it's a star, I'd probably give him a little more leeway than a mid-range player. Any sort of mid-range player, to me, I'm probably going to cut bait with pretty easily because, like you said, you need as many at-bats and as little uncertainty as you can in such a sprint to the finish. I mean, it really is a few days in July, but it's August and September, and that's it. You fall behind too fast, you're going to find real hard to come back.
I really hope, though, that leagues added IL spots for this because, I mean, I have a couple leagues on CBS, and they've already put some of these guys on IL. Like, I'm getting ready to make fab moves this weekend, and I'm putting, like, Neris and Will Smith in IL spots. So I know for a league that I'm the commissioner, we modeled it after the NFBC, the National Fantasy Baseball Championships, high-stakes leagues. They don't have IL spots, so we didn't. And then I talked it over with someone who – I'm the commissioner, but, like, I run things past him.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm like, I don't like to change rules after the draft, but I think we should add 3 IL spots. He's like, well, I'm fine with it. He's like, but will people get mad because we're changing rules? I'm like, no, I don't see how anyone would say no to that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because at some point, like every team, unless you're completely lucky, is going to get hit with a player probably that has COVID. So I put it on the message board. No one complained. So we added 3 IL spots. Tout Wars has unlimited. Labor has unlimited. So I really hope that people made these changes and added these IL spots and do the same for fantasy football. I mean, that's a discussion you should be having now, whether adding spots. And I'm interested to see if the high-stakes leagues, because I've seen a couple of high-stakes leagues players on Twitter the last couple of days saying, hey, if there's no IL spots because something came out yesterday in the NFL that players have to miss 3 weeks, I mean, that's absurd. So it could hit harder because the social distancing is probably harder in the NFL. You could have an offensive line. I know that's not fantasy related, but it affects fantasy. But what if an offensive line in a meeting room all come down with it, or the receivers, and now 3 receivers from a team, now they're out 3 weeks. So I'm interested to see if the high stakes leagues actually bend on this. Already the NFFC has moved FAB. They usually do FAB Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. They moved it from Friday to Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern, which was definitely a smart move. Because sometimes we get news on Saturday, this player didn't travel with the team. We're still going to be hit probably with some last-minute Sunday mornings news. But I'm interested to see if the high-stakes leagues bend on that and add the IR spots for football.
Yeah, and I think the NFL handled this perfectly when they banned the jersey swap at the end of the game, because that's probably the most dangerous.
That definitely will say that.
What the hell? The last thing I'll say on COVID, I wonder if the Chris Archer, the Pittsburgh Pirates organization, has any ability to spread, because both Austin Meadows and Tyler Glasnow have COVID, and that is the haul that the Rays got back for Archers. I don't know if it's karma or voodoo or whatever, but it's funny that the two studs that the Rays got it both have it.
Yeah, I need Austin Meadows back. That's a guy I invested in pretty heavily. So it sounds like opening day is a question mark for him now. And I actually, in the RT sports, maybe, and I always say this, and this is absolutely true, where players are ranked in the queue influence where people draft. Because I saw Austin Meadows go 4th, 5th round. In the high-stakes leagues, he was going late 2nd, early 3rd. So I was always overdrafting him. And I had him ranked high, too. So that I was like, damn, Austin Meadows like in the 4th or 5th in some of these RT sports. Ramon Laureano's another guy they have buried.
Yes.
And people get influenced by it. They absolutely do. But yeah, Meadows is a guy we don't know about opening day. Glasnow did throw the other day. I think he should be in the 3rd. So he should be ready to go. And I think he could be – I wouldn't be surprised if he won the Cy Young Award. I mean, he was dominant last year before he got hurt. And I like the Rays a lot. I think they have a really good shot to win it all.
Yeah, I think he's just coming off the back end of it, and health is the only thing holding him back, in my opinion. He's got dynamite stuff. He's been having a hard time staying on the mound so far. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit. Obviously with most of the games being played against your own division and the rest being played from the same division in the other league. Obviously, some teams get a little bit of an advantage. One that I was looking at was the Yankees before we came on here. So they obviously play a few games against the NL East. So they have 4 with the Phillies, 3 with the Nationals, 4 with the Braves, 5 with the Mets, only 3 with the Marlins. But the interesting thing that I looked at the Yankees' September schedule. It is 2 with the Rays, solid team, 3 with the Red Sox, who have no pitching. What little pitching they have is even in coronavirus. 10 with the Blue Jays and 7 with the Orioles. Like, the Yankees hitters should just absolutely feast in September. They don't have the easiest August. I mean, it's still not impossibly hard. But man, September, I think we're going to see a lot of power out of that Yankees team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were one of the best offenses anyway to begin with in baseball. They're very deep, but when you look at the way the schedule works, I mean, they have 48 of their 60 games in hitter-friendly parks. And not only, you mentioned Toronto and Baltimore, they have 7 games in Toronto, 6 in Baltimore of the 10 that they face them. So, yeah, they just have an insane hitter-friendly schedule. There's no question about it. I mean, they do get some tough pitchers in the National League. They get the Mets 6 times, but we'll see how the Mets pitching is. I mean, we know DeGrom's good. Stroman and Matz are kind of wild cards. They can be really good. But those are 2 pitchers I think the Yankees are not going to be worried about. So, yeah, the Yankees are pretty much not overvalued, but you got to pay a price for them in fantasy anyway, because everyone realizes how good they are, but still, it's set up well. I think the Padres get a boost. They got 7 games in Coors Field, so that's definitely something to look at. On the pitching side, I mean, the Twins, man. The Twins and the Indians, because we know that the AL Central gets to face the NL Central, and of course, they get 20 games against the Royals and the Tigers, man. So that's really helps the Twins. And even the Twins get 7 of the 10 games against the Indians at home. So that helps them. And the Indians get 6 games against Pittsburgh. So those pitchers I like a lot for sure on the Twins, because they'll be in position to get wins. They got a great offense backing them too. The Diamondbacks pitchers, they avoid Colorado. Only 3 games at Coors Field and then 7 of 10 at home against the Dodgers. So still a tough lineup, but at least they get 7 of those 10 at home. And the A's pitchers also 7 of 10 at home against the Astros and Angels, which are tough. And they also get 6 games against the Giants. So it's just little things like that. Again, you don't want to push these guys up significantly, but if you're looking at tiebreakers, I think those are some of the things that you look at. The schedule, which I don't remember talking about it much in baseball. We're on just 62 games. The NFL, we obviously talk about it, but in baseball, I mean, yeah, okay, we look at the division because you face your division a lot, but now it's even scaled back on a ridiculous level, and you definitely want to look at it more, especially when you got these parks like Coors Field and the hitter-friendly matchups like the Yankees have. So it is important to kind of look at that thing here in a 60-game schedule.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, normally we don't take into account over 162 games, and I don't want to say it's all evens out because it doesn't. Obviously, Colorado playing at home and certain other, Yankees and Yankee Stadium, some other places obviously gives them a little bit of favor, but it's not so ridiculous that they get moved up or down so much. But yeah, in this short streak here, it's going to be important. So I know you have one more auction left on Tuesday. I know there's going to be a lot of drafts this weekend as everybody gets ready to go. So I wanted to talk the second half more about draft strategies and risers and fallers. So I think one of the and this is another one with just the 60 games. I think even comes into it so much is what kind of leash do you think closers are going to have? What is going to? I don't want to ask what your closers strategy is going to be for Tuesday in case anyone's watching, but. When this first broke and we thought baseball was coming back, a lot of people were like, oh, well, closers are completely devalued this year. I still tend to think that obviously the elite guys are going to have their leash that they normally get. But I think once you get to that mid-range and then, the guys that we're really not sure of, I have a feeling that the leash is going to be pretty short with only 60 games and these managers not wanting to let their season go to hell like the Mets kind of did with their bullpen last year. Sorry.
Yeah, look, I think it's tough. I mean, it also depends whether you're in a 12 or a 15-team league. In a 15-team league, it's much more challenging, and the closers are getting pushed up significantly in the NFBC. But keep in mind, people are playing for an overall championship there. They're going for the big prize. So you can't punt saves. You got to get them. And if the market is pushing them up, then you're kind of forced to. If you're in a home league or a 12-team league, I don't like punting in a 60 game, but you might be able to come out of the draft and not spend a lot of draft capital on it. You're going to have to get lucky here. And then it's also going to make you, if there is a closer that emerges after week 1, which again is a short week. We got 2 games Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But anything could happen. Someone could emerge over that weekend. Someone's going to spend 70% of their budget, more than likely. If there's like a clear-cut guy, oh, this guy's closing now, and he's not owned, someone's going to spend 70%. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to do that? So, yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to get one of the top arms, but what's the price I'm going to pay? And I think a lot of these guys have risk up with the top 2. I felt good about Roberto Osuna. He's not throwing off a mound right now. Now, I think closers can get ready quickly. It's not like a starter that has to get stretched out. They're throwing 1 inning. They can max it out. So maybe Osuna is ready. But, he's one of those guys. I really like Taylor Rogers a lot from Minnesota. Yes. I've been getting him in a lot of drafts. But, he's going to be costly. Kenley Jansen, I think, is fine. I like Ken Giles. I really like Hector Neris a lot, but, he's got COVID-19 and is on that injured list to start. But, the mid-range, Hansel Robles, I like. The Rays are tricky. I mean, yeah, Nick Anderson's great, but I don't know if he's going to get every save opportunity. But there's a lot of question marks. I don't trust Craig Kimbrell.
Nope.
He didn't look that good last year. I know it was 20 innings. I don't trust Alex Colomé. I don't think he has the typical closer stuff. The Mets have not even committed to Edwin Diaz yet. So we got a lot of question marks here. I do like Joe Jimenez for Detroit. It looks like Melancon's probably going to start the year. Will Smith dealing with the COVID-19 as well. We found out today Keona Kela is not going to be ready. He hasn't reported. I know it's the Pirates. There's not much. They said they're going to rotate. So 2 names to look at are Kyle Crick and Nick Birdie. And I was going through some of my fab leagues, and they are available in some. So those are guys that are probably going to be bid on. And even with the Nationals, I mean, is it Sean Doolittle? Is it Hudson? St. Louis, who's closing? There was some speculation. It could be Carlos Martinez, but then I saw a report that said that he's going to start. We know that Gallegos hasn't reported. Ryan Helsley's a name that's been thrown around. I drafted him in Tout Wars, but it's a lot of question marks. So Aroldis Chapman, I mean, they said he's out for the foreseeable future. So Zach Britton was drafted in quite a few leagues, though. He is available in a league or 2 that I checked real quick. So that's a guy that I think is going to be pushed up draft boards this weekend and is going to cost you in fab. Because even if Chapman's back, the Yankees could spread it around. They don't have to overwork Chapman. They could go to Britton. They can go to Ottavino. So I think what my plan is, I want to try and get 2 solid ones in a 15-team league. But a lot's going to depend. Again, this is an auction. So if everyone's going to overprice them, I'm not going to jump in. And what I'll do is they have fortunately, they have switched this league from weekly to daily. So to me, that's going to mean that I want relievers on my bench that I want active. I'm sure there's an innings max. I got to double check and see what it is. But, give me the guys like Seth Lugo, Drew Pomerantz, Blake Trinan, James Karinchak, guys like that who can throw 2 innings, get 3 strikeouts, and get a win. Maybe they get a save. So I'll definitely have a lot of relievers on my bench. But there's just so many situations now, like even Seattle. I know they suck, and maybe they only get, 7 saves potentially? I mean, it looks like Matt McGill now. That is a guy that I drafted in several leagues. I thought I was going to cut him, but Hirano is on the COVID-19 list to begin the year. So there's just so many questions here at the closer position. And even up top, I mean, how many can we say that we feel strongly about? I don't think there's that many.
No, I'd say definitely less than 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you were talking about the Mets, I believe Brody Van Wagenen called the situation fluid, which is not good. And Chapman, for the foreseeable future, really kind of irks me a little bit. A lot of guys, when they have it and the team makes a statement, they're like, oh, he's asymptomatic and he's fine and he's resting and everything. Out for the foreseeable future does not make my stomach feel very good if I was a Yankee fan or a Chapman owner, which I am multiple times over. So yeah, Zach Britton I think is going to be important. And like you said, they have legitimately 3 closers, so it's not like a lot of teams where it's the closer and it's a step down. I mean, Britton was a fine closer for the Orioles, and Ottavino has done it before too. And so why risk it? Why not let them take some time? I mean, I think we all think they're going to be there in the end, and I think they would want their guy there when it counts. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, his closer is going to be a mess. I have a feeling the carousel is going to spin at just an alarming rate this year. I think it's going to be short leashes and injuries. It's going to be crazy.
And I think a lot of people feel Josh Hader is safe. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, they could bring him in the 7th inning to throw 2 innings, and you could tell me, well, his ratios are going to be great and the strikeouts, but you're not drafting him in the 4th, 5th round for that. You need saves. It's a 60-game season, man. Yeah, those ratios are nice, but you need saves out of them if you're taking them in the 4th round. And, they have a lot of intriguing arms here. I mean, Corey Knebel could be ready. It looks like he will be. And then what do they do with a couple of guys that don't make the rotation? I mean, Corbin Burns threw an absolute gem the other day, like 4 scoreless innings, a ton of strikeouts, was hit 98. So if he's in the rotation, does Freddie Peralta move to the bullpen? Maybe he's a guy that they say, all right, you know what? 1 inning. Hader gets the 7th, 8th. We'll bring in Peralta. We'll bring in Knebel. So I can't spend a 4th round pick or spend a lot of money on Hader if I'm not going to get every save guaranteed. As great as the strikeouts could be, and, I guess in a given week, even if he doesn't pick back-to-back, I guess in a given week he could throw 6, 7 innings and get you 14 Ks, 12 Ks. So that is valuable. Don't get me wrong. But, if he's not getting every save, that's a high price to pay for a guy that, you want some saves out of at least. Because you can't guarantee that he's going to get wins all the time.
Right. All right, there's one more thing I want to ask you before we get to just some players that you think are rising or falling off the board, and that is prospects. Obviously, with this player pool, guys are part of it that probably wouldn't have been if things had gone off usual. Some of the prospects that maybe were going to wait until Memorial Day. Now it's the 7-day service time clock. 7 days in a 60-game season isn't that far off. So guys like Nate Pearson or Spencer Howard, how are you going to treat them?
I'm not going to take a risk on too many of them. I mean, you don't want to have 2 or 3 of those guys on your bench. I know it's only 7 days, but, only 4 days to open the season. If you're at a weekly league, then you kind of have to wait 2 weeks. So, I mean, I have Spencer Howard in a home league, so I'm going to hold on to him. We have 6 reserve spots. It's a daily league. I think the guy that I'm worried about is Dylan Carlson. I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to start the year with the team. So there's obviously some excitement on him and buzz. If his price is too high, I'll pass. Pearson, I don't know, man, because
he's pitched well so far, but
right. But I mean, I guess what is Toronto? Where do they think they are? You know what I mean? Like, we know that they have a good lineup, but is there enough pitching there for them to contend in that division?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pass on a lot of the prospects. Howard's probably the one that's intriguing because I think they need him. And, they're a team that's obviously trying to contend this year. So with him, I think he'll be up after 7 days. And, Zach Wheeler is a guy that might not come back. We talk about, he's definitely got that. I wasn't interested in him to begin with, because he was going like top 30, top 35 pitcher. And there were other guys I like below him. But there's a chance that, his wife is due to give birth. There's a chance he doesn't return. So that's a guy that's down my board. And that'll open up probably for Spencer Howard to stick. So he's the one guy that I would probably take a chance on, but a lot of these other prospects, I'm probably going to pass.
I just, as we were talking, as news breaks, we connected about 10 minutes early and we got the Freeman news. I'm now getting producer John Impemba in my ear that Yasiel Puig just tested positive for COVID and his contract is voided. So
what?
That is coming from producer John Impemba as we're speaking. So Puig to the Braves is void. He's got corona, and he apparently is no longer on the team.
Wow, yeah, I'm seeing that now. He's asymptomatic and feels absolutely fine was the quote, but he's going to go into quarantine until 2 negative tests, and that contract was never official. So he's still a free agent. Wow. For people that drafted the last couple days, man.
I mean, that is...
I'm saying, like, this news changes minute by minute, man. Now I got to go after this live stream and change the rankings and move Puig down. It's crazy, and this is the way the season is going to be. And I've said it numerous times. Again, it's hard for me to follow my own advice. People are like that. Have fun for fantasy baseball. I won't have fun if I'm losing, but that's me. But I'm telling you guys, have fun.
And so 2 things have broken in the last half an hour, so that tells you exactly how much. Well, I said I want to get to risers and fallers, but you tweeted last night about Mike Trout and where people would draft him. They're drafting this weekend. So go ahead. And you said you saw some people say they still take him number 1 overall. Tell them why they're wrong.
Well, see, that's the thing is I don't know if people were aware of what's going on. Let's be like, okay, so we are on top of this. This is what we do. There has to be some people who maybe have kind of checked out from baseball and maybe they're just coming back now. Like, oh, well, you know what? I don't care. The season's not going to start. I'm going to wait. And maybe they have no idea what's going on. But I did get a lot of responses, like, as if I was crazy for asking the question. And then several people were like 1, 2, 3. And I said to a couple of them, like, do you realize he's going to miss some time? And one of them didn't realize it. So his wife is due to give birth in August. So we just don't know. He's going to leave to be with his wife. It's his first kid. Now, I believe they have a 3-day leave of absence for this. But what's the protocol with COVID-19? Does he have to have 2 negative tests? Is he going to miss at least a week? Is it 2 weeks? What if he goes with his kid and maybe some stories come out during that time that the numbers are up? And, I saw a story. It was an offensive lineman in the NFL said him and his wife were around some friends and the whole family tested positive. What if these stories start coming out? Trout sees this and he goes, you know what? I'm not going to risk this. I'm just going to stay here and sit it out. It's possible. Highly unlikely, but it's possible. So for me, I don't think you could take him in the first round. And I already have him. I have him in my home keeper league, and I spent money on him in labor. So I hope he only misses the 3 days, and maybe he does. And we sit here and go, wow, the team who got him at 7, at 10, at 12, because that's where he's been going. He's been going, I've seen him go 7, 9, because I understand you're in that draft room and you're picking 8 and you see Mike Trout, you're like, how can I pass this up? But at the same time, it's 60 games. He misses 7, he misses 10. That's a good portion of the season. And I know, well, if it's a 12-team league, sure, you can probably find someone to fill in for a week or two. It's just that there's risk. And there's a lot of good players in the first round that we know are healthy right now. So I'm not going to take him in the first round. I'm not going to spend $40 on him in an auction.
All right. Before we get out of here, why don't you give us 2 guys that you feel are rising up the draft board and maybe 2 that you think are falling or should be falling?
All right. Well, there's a lot. And if you want to see them, you can go to fantasyalarm.com, the baseball draft kit. I keep updating my rankings. I'm going to update them right after this because I moved Puig up. Now I got to move him down. He doesn't have a team, man. If he drafted this weekend, it's kind of risky. So the roller coaster that is baseball right now. Let's see. I don't want to give too many obvious ones. I'll say Will Myers has to be moving up the board. They just traded Franchi Cordero. Myers, no one's really talked about, but he's going to play. I mentioned about the Padres that they have the 7 games at Coors Field. Will Myers had 18 homers, 16 steals last year. The average wasn't great, but he's got power. He's got some speed. Pitcher, Rich Hill. I went back and looked. Rich Hill was not drafted in a couple leagues, man. And the one thing about Rich Hill, when he has been on the mound, he has pitched very well. He's got a good Twins lineup behind him. And, again, favorable schedule, gets those Tigers and Royals. So Rich Hill definitely moved up the board. Guys falling. Walker Buehler, man, I had him as the 3rd starting pitcher, but he's not stretched out. He's only thrown 1 inning so far, and it might take him, a couple weeks to get into the groove. And the Dodgers have a lot of depth at starting pitcher, so, why take him end of first, early second when there are better pitchers there? So maybe early 3rd round, late 2nd round possibly, but just a little bit of a risk right now because we don't know when he's going to be stretched out, ready to go. And also Jesus Luzardo, man. I think they said he's at camp today, but this is a guy who's like barely thrown 5-6 innings in any of his minor league starts. Coming out of the gate, he's only going to go probably 2-3 innings. It's going to be a slow buildup. And I don't know if we get many 5-6 innings out of him this year. So, yes, he's one of the most talented young arms in baseball, but I don't know how valuable he's going to be for fantasy when, back in April and May, I'm like, well, no innings restriction, shortened season. I like him, good team. But we're definitely going to see 3-4 inning outings out of him to start. And, he gets 3 or 4 of those. That's a problem because at max he's getting 12 starts and maybe only 10 or 11.
One more guy I want to ask you before we sign out, and this came out, I think, yesterday. Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch on Sundays. He's not going to play the day before. He's not going to play the day after. So that's 5 days a week of him hitting and him pitching once a week. In 60 games, does that really hurt his value, in your opinion?
The Sunday schedule for them is very tough. So I don't want him as a pitcher. The other factor is, say you're in a weekly league, and you put him in, and then on Sunday the game gets rained out. Now you go a week without him. Now in a daily league, like my home league is a daily league, and you can use him as pitcher or hitter, he's extremely valuable in that format. Because if he does have a bad matchup, you could sit him. Although he was very wild in one of his recent outings. Remember, he's coming off Tommy John surgery. And we know command and control is usually one of the first things. It takes a while to get that back. So I understand everyone's excited about him, but I won't be drafting him.
I'm with you on that one. All right, so, man, we're a week away. God knows what's going to happen between now and then. I wish you the best of luck, of course, in your leagues, except for the one we're in together. May you come in second. Enjoy your softball. Enjoy your rankings. And, of course, follow you on Twitter, at Adam Ronis. And I guess I can't even say we're ready to go because things are just changing at the moment. But I thank you for coming on and talking with me for a little while. And looking forward to do it again. Follow us at Fantasy Alarm. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And, of course, on YouTube. Give us a subscription there for all the Fantasy Alarm TV. And we'll talk to you later.